I mean, one of the main things is that I wanted to offer this partly for my own selfish reasons, because I wanted it recorded, and I want to share what I think is really valuable. You're all here, so you're obviously interested in the concept of light language and the awareness of light language. And there's a lot of information and lots of promotion and lots more talk about light language, which is amazing. It just really shows that we are in this new world for sure, which is awesome. So what I wanted to do with this is really bring a bit of clarity around the energetics and the understanding and the awareness of what light language is for each of us, and also in the sense that we all can express light language, and it may look different for all of us as well. So for you, Hamish, I'll just introduce myself a little bit more. So I am a soul coach. I've been in my health, wellness, energetic journey for a long time, 30 plus years, and with constant insatiable appetite for understanding the more, and all of it from a perspective of a homecoming, really, a homecoming to soul, to self. And so having come at that journey home, that trajectory home from so many various angles, it gives me a really, personally, I feel, a unique perspective on so many of these principles that are shared. And so I just wanted to share it from my perspective and also from my lived experience and the power of it all. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So what I would love to know, if you are willing to share, just a little bit about what brought you to this evening, this information, and your awareness or even involvement or experience with light language. So good. It's awesome. We've got like the whole spectrum, which is fantastic. And you explained that well as well, and that will make a lot more sense after this as well, because of one thing that I hope that you'll take away from this is that everybody has the ability and the experience of light language in some way, and I'll explain that a little bit more as we go. And like you said, one thing that was a real key factor is like, when I'm a bit sort of out of it, like if we've been doing some sort of energy work or meditation or anything like that, or we're, breath work and things like that, we get a bit out of it, and that whole out of it is really getting out the way, our human and our analytical and our practical self. And so when we get out of the way, then who is speaking? Who is then bringing through the expression? And that's really where we can understand where light language and what it really is and where it comes from. So as always, I've got a lovely little presentation. So what the intention is tonight, I'll go through, as I always do. I like to have a bit of a background, a bit of theory, some context from that way, so that our analytical mind and our human self is satisfied with any questions it may have, and then that way we get a better context and a better opportunity for experiencing, or experiential. I was going to say experiential, and then I said experiencing at the same time, which wasn't light language because it wasn't very beautifully spoken. So there is this. I'd like it to be experiential as well. So we're going to lead from the sort of more theory, analytical, to the experiencing of it. Okay. Can you see that okay? Is that presentation on screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So basically, when we're talking about light language, it is an expression of our higher consciousness. And it's really beautiful when we start to break it down and understand it from that concept a little bit more. What we'll do is we'll go through some of the theory. We'll have a little bit of, opportunity to kind of ask some questions and to unpack it a bit more. And then we'll finish with a bit of an experience for ourselves on how we can experience it. How can we get into that state of channeling. Basically, it is like channeling, but I'll explain that further. So when we think about the origins of what we are, okay, we are light, as we know. We are light vibrating. I saw a beautiful thing. I wonder if I saved it. I'll have to put it into our little Facebook page. But it was an image of what humans look like through the eyes of a bee. Did you guys happen to see that at all on social media, which is the only source of any information, obviously, social media? And it was this beautiful image, and it was just literally particles of light, and it was just particles of light moving around, and that was like the image of how a bee sees humans and stuff. And it was just such a lovely concept, whether it's completely 100% fact or not. And whether the bee sees it that way, the fact is that is what we are. We are light vibrating. And so if you think about the consciousness, the concept of the consciousness, the God form, that is pure light. And that pure light it moves into a state of vibration. And vibration is when there is a frequency, a movement, an oscillation. And so when we get into that state of vibration, then that's when it starts to go into form. So it goes from light to vibration, then it goes more into sound. So that vibration starts to manifest sound. And then that sound can manifest color spectrums, so the color spectrum realm. And then from there, it starts to manifest into form. So light, vibration, sound, color, form. So when we think about those frequencies, everything is frequency. And that is a shifting of frequencies down from that high vibration of just light, pure light and consciousness, down to this physical form that we experience here. And as we go a little bit more into sound and different ways of experiencing sound and frequency, it gives us a bit of an experience of that, a feeling of that as well, because we do actually experience it that way. I'm not sure if it is one of our sessions that we did it, but I was in a meditation once, and they said, "What is the color?" I said it in our online session that we had. What is the sound of the color yellow? They had this in this meditation, and it was really quite interesting because we often wouldn't associate sound with a color. Right? We would if we stop and think about it. Like, what's the sound of red? What's the sound of black? What is the sound of purple? When we say it like that, can you imagine a sound? Can you imagine a sound like if I said, what is the sound of yellow? And a way to play around with that is the idea of listening to music. Or if you had to pick a song and go pick a yellow song, and pick a purple song, pick a red song. And it's quite interesting because we can associate sound with color. And so that already starts to loosen what we believe sound to be and what we believe the sound of voice and words and vibration to be, and the meaning of sound, because we put a lot of meaning to words. We have meaning to words, and we use words to explain meaning. But as we all know, the words sometimes fail us, right? And the words are sometimes challenging to truly portray what we really want to transmit to somebody. And so this is why that's such a beautiful awareness that we loosen the expectation or need to use words the way we've been conditioned to use them, but that we still understand that through different forms of frequency, we are still transmitting the knowing or the knowledge or the information that we want to share. Does that make sense a little bit on that level? So that we're just starting to build a bit of a concept around the idea of a different way of sharing language. So when we,
I was just going to say, when you're talking about the sound of color, is that, so you're saying, is that an individual thing, or that's kind of like how you group it?
No, it can definitely be an individual thing. But the other thing that's really interesting to become aware of when we start to come from spirit, right? When we start to come from consciousness, when we start to come from our own spirit and awareness and consciousness, that if you were to pick a song that is red, or if you were to express the sound of yellow, that it would often be in a collective agreement. So if I was to say to you, what's the sound of yellow? It may be quite different. I might go, oh, okay, I wouldn't think that's yellow. I would call that purple. You know what I mean? So It can definitely be an individual thing. Yet there is also, what was it, the other thing I had the other day? There was something along those lines where they are, there's a name for it, where people have special senses and they can taste color, they can hear color, they can have a different experience with. So the wiring of perception is different to most people. So color has a different effect. We can train ourselves because we've been trained, right? We've been trained to go, what is that sound that you're hearing? What is that thing called? What is yellow? Okay, so people have colorblind, and so they're already having a different perception of a color. However, can we train ourselves to hear a color and then come into collective agreement to what that color is that we're hearing, so that we all agree that that's the sound of yellow? However, at this stage, the way we're talking about it is a little bit more on the concept of like, what is it to you? Because that's another thing that's important to understand in this concept of light language, that it is an individual thing, and light is always moving, just like energy is always moving, and light language is all about energy. And so from the idea that if we block it in, so that we have words right now, so the word yellow means a color. I say the word yellow and you have a picture of yellow in your head. So now if we just change it and say, what's this sound? And you go, oh, that's the sound of yellow. That's may be conditioned, but if we can let go of the conditioning and just allow the experience. Does that make sense a little bit about like being quite open at the moment on how we can experience light language? Because the color yellow is a light spectrum, and so we are allowing ourselves to experience that from the concept of light, and we're now creating a resonance that I might transmit. And because of the conditioning we've done, if I'm trying to transmit to you the color yellow, I say yellow. But if we didn't have that word yellow, and I was just wanting to relay the frequency of that spectrum and the color spectrum, what would I use to transmit that to you? And this is a big part of it, is that if we are in energetic form, and and this is what light language is so powerful, if we can get beyond our conditioning to a point where we connect to the unified field. So if I'm sitting with you and I want to relay the spectrum on the color spectrum of what we call yellow, but I'm not using those words, I'm transmitting it, I tap into the frequency of that, and I allow that to almost channel, like I'm almost allowing yellow to channel through me. And then you receive the frequency of that. So we can come back around to this a little bit. Hopefully it makes a little bit more sense as we go. And this is why I was saying, just to kind of, we get kind of abstract initially so that we can let go of some of our concepts. So from that, when we think about the evolution of language, you know, we are in this dense form of language, and we know that, like, say, particularly English, you know, it's taken over so much of the world, American English and British English and New Zealand English and all that stuff, but English. And the resonance of English, often the actual words can be quite low vibration in a way. So when we have an awareness of what sacred language used to be like, but if we go back even more, so if we go back from the concept that we are pure light, and then from that, you know, there is like visions and symbols. So we know about sacred geometry, right? Sacred geometry is a language. It's the language of the universe. So if you look at sacred geometry, like the flower of life and all these sort of things, those are coding, basically coding of the universe, and that coding is the language of the universe. So if we were computer programmers, we learn a language, don't we? We learn the language model of that program. There's a language model of the program. So when we are in light form, our first understanding of language is symbolic and symbols and geometric forms and things. Are you with me on that? Sacred geometry. And then from that, we come into a more spiritual realm. So beyond the consciousness into spirit realm, which is more individual spirits and souls and astral bodies and etheric bodies and physical bodies. The more we go from spirit to the physical, our frequency changes. And as our frequency changes, our communication changes, because it's not as much of a light frequency communication, which obviously also slows down the waves of communication, the resonance waves. And then when we get into the highest level of human communication, which is the sacred languages like Sanskrit and Hebrew, I really like this sort of Hebrew idea, is like the Hebrew letters are little flames and little wisps and little, you know, like they almost look like, this is not actual, obviously, but it's representing it. And it's just, but the thing is, if they're quite sort of, they're almost like energy forms. So the resonance of those ancient languages have a different feeling. And I think that's what I always feel when people have such a strong response to the haka, you know, and to Waiata and Māori language and lots of other indigenous languages. It's interesting that in all like sort of spiritual practices, when we've got our sort of more holistic soundtracks, it's usually Nepalese, or it's Sanskrit, or it's Hindi, or it's some of these sort of more the yogic, even American Indian, all of those sort of things is what we tend to use to connect on a spiritual realm. That's the sort of music that we use. I mean, obviously there is also English languaging, but it's just a way to kind of feel into resonance of that. So we can sort of look at it. I like the idea of the concept that we have sacred communication, which is like vibrational and intuitive. So obviously like Om, which is the universal seed sound, and it's a vibration. And I put in there about Reiki symbols, because Reiki is an energy healing process, and it's about using the symbols, and the symbol itself, we know what the symbol means, but within that symbol, it's like a code. And the code has so much more into it, just like we've talked about in our Soulfit Academy, when we talked about the icon having so much information. Just like in a computer, if we have the icon, the information behind the icon holds so much more information than just that picture. And one way to look at that is we've talked about this before. It's like when we're a child, we point at something and we say that's a tree. However, if we were to be in a frequency, in a resonance of energy, we would ask the tree, what is it called? And we would ask the tree every time. And we would ask a person every time, which is a beautiful concept to think that, like, because we hold a person in a current resonance because we say, oh, that is Joe. And then as soon as we say that, there is a whole potential programmed story all associated to it. Whereas Joe is actually an energy in motion. And so Joe is in that moment an expression. And so, yes, we use the icon of the name Joe. However, there is so much more to that. So tomorrow, so today my name is Kilai Nulaistigana. This is my expression today. Today I am Ning. Whatever. Today I'm yellow. So it's more from the concept of not even for ourselves, but especially from the perspective that we're talking about light language. If we want to really attune to the expression of light language, there has to be an element of stepping out of the way. There has to be a channeling. And ideally, this is the concept of us channeling every day. So the tree is channeling its expression every day. So we ask the tree, what is it today? But we call it a tree every day. But we can really minimize something by holding it in that preset name or preset concept. Whereas there's so much more than that. It's just hard to live that way, walking around all the time. What is that? It's a tree. No, but what is it today? So the idea of light language and expression of light language is the fact that it's not a linear language. Okay, it's not linear at all. It's not like we write a sentence. And this is also really interesting when we start to look at all these ancient languages. Sanskrit, the way it's written backwards, and same, I think Chinese is written backwards, and symbols, and Japanese has got like all these symbols, and each symbol has so much meaning as opposed to just one letter meaning one thing. And so that's letters and form, but in light language, it's not linear. We're really focusing about connecting into channeling in a multidimensional way to understand that one word can mean so much, or one sound expression, one transmission can mean so much. So it's very powerful if you've ever received authentic light language. It can literally recode you because of the fact that there is a resonance, and particularly if you are able to come into that frequency yourself. So it's an expression. So when you channel it, it's like you channeling it to yourself. However, people also go to light language healers, or you may go to an experience where there is light language being spoken, and you can have a real resonance, a real receiving of it. So it's very powerful. However, it can be in many forms. It's not always sound. So you may have for yourself even been in a yoga session, been in a meditation, even dancing. When we're dancing, the way we move, we might move our hands, and particularly it's a particular movement, particular song, and you kind of lose yourself in the music. And however you express in the music, like when you're truly expressing the music is expressing through you. It's energy, it's expressing through you, and your body is now a conduit for that movement and for the expression of that sound. That is channeling, because you aren't in the way. It's different if we're doing a choreographed routine or we're thinking about it too much, and we're listening to the 8 count and fitting into the 8 count and all those sort of things. There's a difference to that. And that's the same even in light language. You can feel it when people are making sounds that sound like light language because they've heard it somewhere, but it may not necessarily be a genuine channeling. So I remember when I was in the church and people were speaking in tongues, and, I wanted to speak in tongues. So I just copied what they were doing, but basically it was gibberish. And little kids do gibberish, and then they just actually understand each other, which is also quite a hard case. But even like yoga, because traditional yoga is about creating geometric forms, like creating sacred form. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a yoga sequence, if you were to pause that position, it creates a geometric form. Qigong, the movements that we do in Qigong, is about moving with energy. So it's an expression, and that may be your way of expressing the language of light in different ways. And as we go through these sort of layers of understanding, so we have like the God consciousness, and which is like literally consciousness. There isn't any real communication. It's just an all that is that knows. It's the consciousness, right? So we don't need communication because everything is known. And then as we move into different realms of understanding, the angelic realm, so people have experiences, we have access to the angelic realm, and people might have an experience of communicating with angels and all that sort of stuff. However, that communication level is not necessarily a linear words. It's more a knowing, and we've all received information in that way, where maybe you've heard even a podcast, maybe you've read a book, maybe you're listening to a song, maybe you're driving along or going for a run, and all of a sudden you, like what people say, they get a download, right? You get this download, and that download is not linear. We didn't have to sit there for 20 minutes to receive the data. We actually just instantly receive the whole data. So like recently with the app idea I had, within, like it was a file download, because instantly I had the idea of the app, how it was going to work, all the different branches that went off it. Like it was just like, if I sat in a presentation around what this app was going to be, it would have been a 20-minute presentation, but it came in an instant. So that is a block of information. And so that is more from those higher realms of inspiration and information. That's not in our linear time. And that's more when we start to understand that, say, in an angelic realm, you might all of a sudden have a knowing. And if you do feel like you are having a communication on the angelic realm, it would be in that way. It would be all of a sudden you'd know. Now, where it is really common in light language is people channeling the galactic realms. And this is where like Palladian, light language, Sirian, Arcturian, like all of these sort of other realms and other beings, languages. There is Lemuria. There's all these things. And this is where people can get a little bit like, oh, it's a load of crap if they're not into this understanding. Or people can also get a little bit attached from the idea of, oh, I'm a starseed and I come from Palladia, or I'm an Arcturian, or I speak to the Arcturians, or I'm from Lemuria. Not saying that they're not. However, we are multidimensional beings, and when we really begin to understand that we have access to the infinite realms of all, then we are and can be having many lifetimes in many different realms. And you may have more of a connection to yourself on an angelic realm or on a galactic realm. And by having more of a connection to that realm, you may find the channel to that language and that receiving easier to receive. Does that make sense? So you may, your light language may come through more of a Palladian languaging, just like, say, somebody who all of a sudden starts speaking more in a Hebrew way or a Sanskrit way. It's like they're channeling Hebrew. All of a sudden they speak Hebrew. All of a sudden they speak Sanskrit. Or the words that come out are very sort of that sort of tone. So not saying that people are not channeling Palladian or Syrian, and there are people out there who have the ability, their portal or their energy, their frequency is really open, that they are able to channel or to receive the influence of many of these realms. So the galactic realms. But that doesn't mean that you almost like need to. It's not like us doing Duolingo, although who knows, they might have Duolingo Palladian on there soon. The way we're going, I'm learning Palladian. It's not something we need to learn. It's something that we're opening ourselves up to. So the other thing is that even, and this is where we can understand this better, if you go to a yogic practice, kirtan, mantra practice, when we do mantra, when we do kirtan, when we're doing meditation with mantra, then you know the difference for yourself if you hear the chant being repeated with almost that human resonance. It's just repeating the letters, repeating what you've been taught. And this is one of the things with mantra meditation, is that we repeat it until we kind of get lost and we don't even hear it anymore. And we're kind of just in the resonance of it. And we're opening our channel of frequency of it. We are frequency beings. We are vibrating beings. And it's just a matter of raising our frequency to be able to receive on that level, to receive at that resonance. So if somebody is speaking light language, if somebody is speaking Sanskrit, if somebody is singing a sacred song, if we're chanting, whatever else, if there is no true light in it, so if there is no God infused in it, then it's not light language. And in that matter, like we said, English or certain languages can be a little bit more of that less higher frequency, yet we all know that we've heard a poem or an expression or somebody sharing something beautiful, and it's infused with soul, it's infused with God, that it brings us to tears, right? And it's not the words, is it? Because that same poem, that same thing could be said and have no impact on us. It doesn't move us. And so light language is really an expression of the God light, not God as in order as consciousness, spirit. Are you with me so far? Is it all right? We're getting the picture. So channeling and light language is a feeling. It's a feeling. So it comes from a place of spiritual alignment and divine connection. It's not something we can, just like what I say about meditation. Meditation is, we have some meditation practices, and those techniques that we apply, they assist us in achieving a state of meditation. So the tools we use to meditate are tools. However, that act of using the tools is not the meditation. The meditation is the state we arrive at, we experience through using those tools. And so the same thing is with light language, is that there is an awareness of spiritual attunement and divine connection. So if we are, doing this with somebody else, so like if you're a Reiki practitioner or you're sharing your light language or light codes, or you're an energy healer of any sort, both the channeler and the recipient, I don't like the word should, I wouldn't have put that there, is in that feeling of the energy. And light language often delivers a download of information beyond words. So this is also beautiful to understand that, say if you are supporting somebody else, say if you are in a situation where you are doing Reiki with somebody or hands-on healing, or you are supporting, just like a mum who is humming and singing a song to a child, and the child receives it. So in that time, it's connection. I do it with my animals, and it's really funny because both my dogs have different songs. Actually, I didn't even think about it the other day. My niece was here, and I was like showing her what Tiny's song was and how Reg's song is a different song, and it's really weird and so my cat, she's got a different song as well, and it's just automatic. Like when you're holding them and you start like la 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 la, and you're making a little tune and you're doing a little thing, and then all of a sudden it just comes on its own. And that's the same with naming a baby, naming an animal. If we spend time with the animal. Like I remember I picked up my dog, and I sat in the car and I said to him, so what's your name, And I did that with my previous two dogs. I said, what's your name? And it's like, came to me, his name was Timmy. And then I said to my brother, I said, oh, my dog's called Timmy. And he's like, what? That's ridiculous, because his son's called Jimmy. And he thought it was so silly that I called my dog Timmy. I was like, well, it's not my fault. That's his name. But so it's about like, allowing, so feeling it and allowing the download. It's so powerful when we can channel this and live like this within ourselves and get out of our own way. The only thing that's going to get in your way is skepticism, doubt, and our own conditioning. I mentioned in here again around Reiki symbols. I know, Linda, you do some Reiki. Joe, have you done any Reiki or received any Reiki?
Years and years ago, probably about 10, 12 years ago, I did a Reiki course, and I used to get it fairly regularly, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. Did you guys work with symbols?
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely can't.
Yeah. No, that's all right, but you still understand. Hamish, have you ever had any Reiki?
No, I haven't myself, but I have seen it. Just hadn't really understood the concept fully.
Yeah, I mean, it's more just energy and energy healing and energy concepts. But why I mention Reiki in this is around the symbols that are used in Reiki. So there's a whole bunch of symbols, and you can even draw the symbols and you can use the symbols. And that is like coding and keys. So it's another way to understand, again, that is light language. Okay, so before we get into this, how are we doing? Are we kind of understanding where I'm going with this? Have we got any questions? And then otherwise we'll go into a little bit of practice. But let me know if you have any questions or any feedback or any sharing at this point.
Is it kind of like when we like that whole we're not in our ego or our thoughts and our minds, and then we can quiet all that? Is it kind of how we feel when all that noise goes away, that pure consciousness?
What that is the place we channel from, definitely. Yeah. that is, and a lot of the time too, is that we are open to receive. And you would have experienced that in some of our meditations when we're like, okay, we're doing some energy work and we're activating the energy centers and we're raising our frequency, using our breath, and we're allowing the mind to subside, and we're using the brainwave frequency to get into the alpha theta state. And we're activating the pineal gland. So all of those things for us to connect to the field and then become part of all that is. And so then that is, the more we do that sort of meditation and that sort of practice, the more we are now in a state of receiving. And often in that state, I will say in our meditations, just be open and to receive. And in that is also the receiving without attachment, receiving without grasping. And so that we don't feel like there's a whole story associated to it. It's like you might get images, you might all of a sudden get a full download, you might get a sensation, an experience. And so that place is a place of, okay, from that frequency, and almost light language is almost a little bit, for want of better languaging, below that, because it is around the expression of the experience. It's around the expression of it. That's what light language is. It's expressing what that feeling and that experience is. So like I said, we could be on the dance floor, especially like ecstatic dance. It's amazing. So you're on the dance floor and you've gotten out the way and your energy is activated and your body is kind of morphed into the everythingness, and you're just this expression of energy. And so that might look like movement, it might look like sound, and it's a place to start from. And also, what is very powerful in light language, if you do truly want to activate the language, not just the symbols or not just the hands or the mudras and all that, if you want to activate the sound, then there has to also be an aspect of intention, so that there is an intention of, I am desiring to express on this level, on this energetic level. I mean, I'm desiring to express, or I'm desiring to utilize or channel into, if you wanted to channel into Palladian or Sirian or whatever, or channel into my expression of sound. And sometimes it's just a sound. Especially I find I express a lot in my meditations. And that to me really is where it came from first, especially a lot of the more sort of galactic style meditations. It's just a natural thing. You start to move, and you might want to move your hands a little bit. And, I use particular breaths. And when I'm coming into it, and breaths, and I'm moving my hands all the time. That my light language is definitely more in my hands and also in voice. But it may be for other people, it may be more in like the sound, in particular sound. It may not have, like some light language is very sort of colorful, and it's more about like really allowing yourself to express in your unique way. How about you, Belinda? Is there anything that's kind of come through in that little talk?
Yeah, no, definitely. I've just been playing with it as well, like walking down the beach because no one can hear me, and just different intonations, like just totally just letting whatever comes out come out, and it's just that real just seeing what comes out. I think that's actually kind of a good way of putting it, and then just letting it express itself and getting out of the way.
Absolutely. That's the way to kind of channel it. It really is about like the concept of channeling the light frequency that you are, really, or that you are.
I went to a dance thing. Funny you said that. I went to a dance thing here. And it was so interesting just watching everyone's unique
expression. Yeah.
Oh, wow. so interesting. And one Russian woman there, she was so like she wasn't there. Like you look at her and she was just empty, like her eyes were all, it was always freaky, and she was so like, and then afterwards I spoke to her, she was like, "Oh, you're alive in there,"
It's beautiful. It's funny because I just had this funny thing about one of those skits, and it's say, like next time you have an argument or something, instead of using words, just express yourself in modern dance or in interpretive dance. So the next time we just have like unspoken language and go, "What's your name?" And you just go, do a little oh, okay. What was it again? You weren't paying attention. And we just like express ourselves and interpret. That can be your challenge for the week. Express yourself with interpretive dance.
I'm going to interpretive dance at Hamish in the kitchen. This isn't meant to sound at all rude or anything like that. It's just a genuine question. So what is the point of it?
No, it's great. Again, it's energy. It's higher vibration. It's raising your vibration, all of it. Because when you think about the conversation we just had and where it came from and where it led to, so what we're talking about is at the God consciousness level, we are light, right? We're just light, and then there are these layers of consciousness and awareness. And where we are within this realm of consciousness is we are very much in the thought and in the intellectual, and we're also very much in the dualistic and the separateness. And we talk a lot about meditation, and we talk a lot about unity, and we talk about energy and about raising your vibration. And we talk about raising your vibration, and quite often, how do you raise your vibration? We might talk about, well, think more happy, and energy is emotion, right? So emotions is energy in motion. So, above the line, like I talk about, or higher frequency emotion. So when you're, in apathy or depression, as opposed to I am in hopefulness, and then we can keep raising our vibration. So all of those are concepts of raising our frequency. Okay. And you can also go to modern dance or ecstatic dance, and you can also sit and chant, and you can channel light language. And by channeling light language, every single cell in your body comes online. You are vibrating your microtubules. You are vibrating every cell in your body. You are more energy, less matter, and you are directly connecting to the God consciousness, because the God consciousness is light. So what a fast track way just to channel some light, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to get a bit happier, I'm going to think positive thoughts. And I'm, as you know, I share all those as well, because it's like these tools don't work for everybody, and that's why I've put light codes at the end of what we would have been looking at. So but some people can jump straight into here and go, okay, use your light language, do healing. This is what energy healing is about. It's energy healing. That's what light language is. It's energy healing. Yeah,
that's cool.
And it doesn't always need to come from someone else. You can do your own energy healing through light language. And a really powerful way to use it is in your morning ritual, or if you've got an intention setting, say if you're building a bit of a grid concept. We're going to talk about grids as well in this 4-week thing. So the idea of you're building a bit of a grid of consciousness, a grid for the day or for a particular experience. And in that grid consciousness, you set intentions and focus, but you channel the light language frequency of the intention. So it is just working at a cosmic realm. It's rather than in a human realm of setting affirmations and goal setting and that sort of thing. It's just the woo-woo stuff. Hamish, how are you going with it? Jump in the deep end. The first session we ever do, and he's right here.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of, like I say, listening and trying to get a bit of perspective on things. And like I say, I probably don't. Well, I wouldn't say that I know too much. So I'm just trying to link a few things together and
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
just
that.
get a bit of understanding of it. Yeah.
And like I always say, just hold it lightly and let it land and see where it goes. And maybe there's some more questions. And one thing I will also always say was with any of this, and it sounds like you're very much on board with that, is like, you know, like don't take it as gospel. And also don't throw it out in the bin. You know, it's like just like don't. The whole thing about preference and aversion. It doesn't have to be something you attach, and it doesn't have to be something you push away. It's just is, and you just hold it lightly and see where it lands. And that's the main thing. It's like I'm just sharing some information, and we'll see where it lands.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now, okay, is we are actually going to go through a little practice. Now, some of this practice is stuff that we do in yoga and everything anyway. I am going to play a little bit of music in the background and I will guide you through this. And obviously, you're welcome to mute yourself if you want to. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a bit of grounding in. We're just going to like do a little meditation, grounding in, connect so that our sort of human can stand down a little bit. We'll do a little bit of breathing. And then we're going to make some sounds. Now, the first sound we're going to make, it's the wrong way around. We're actually going to start with the M-A-A-A, which is Ma, which is actually the seed sound of the heart chakra. So the chakra meditation. So the heart chakra, Ma. Then we're going to do Ha, and that's the seed sound of the throat, the Vishuddhi. And obviously, when we talk about light language, the expression and things like that is where that comes from. And then we go into the seed sound of He. Now, when we do that is He, and that's about activating your pineal gland. So that's more about that portal of connection. So it really is about taking the frequency from the heart to the throat to the third eye center. Then we are going to go into Om, and it's AUM there. And we're going to do that for a little while. We're going to repeat that for a little while. So it'll be Om, Om. And that Om is also going to be A at the heart, U at the throat, M at the third eye, at the center of the head. So again, it's using vibration to open those channels and to kind of radiate our frequency. And then what we'll do is the last little bit is we're going to do Ah. And Ah is just the tone of Ah. And you can start to then freestyle a little bit. So in that, and there'll be some music, and you just close your eyes and just let yourself express. And in that might be a little bit of movement. You might just stay with that Ah, but you might move, and that might be your expression of the energy. It's just movement. Or your hands might want to do something. Like if you've done sort of Tai Chi, you might naturally feel that, or you might bring some movement. I quite often end up clicking, and which is a real big part of my light language and energy. Or you might, start to bring in a few different sounds. You might want to play around with different shapes with your mouth. So the whole thing's only going to be about 10 minutes max. And I will have music on, and I'm going to mute you too, Hamish, just so that everybody feels safe enough in their own little space to do what they want to do. And if you aren't feeling confident to do anything in particular like that, just stick to listening, breathing. You could hum, okay? So you could even do it with you could do it quietly, just opening those channels and just getting out the way and just feeling it for yourself. What does it feel like? What does the resonance feel like? Where do I feel it? What comes up for me? What sort of experience am I having when I feel that? All right. Now I'm going to have to do that so that I can put the music on. Okay, so just getting comfortable. We're not going to be too long here. We're going to use our breath, just closing your eyes. Okay, taking a few minutes just to be in the space. You're allowing your body to settle. And we just breathe naturally. We're opening our awareness to sound. asking our human to stand down. Connect to your breath and just feel for a moment the density in your body and welcome some lightness, even if it's just a sense of feeling lighter. And notice any areas in the body that feel restrictive. And as you breathe deeply, start to breathe out through the mouth, and as you do, open your mouth. You breathe in through the nose, and as you breathe out through the mouth. And as you breathe out through the mouth, just do a little bit of a sigh, like a and do that again, just breathing in through the nose and a bit of a sighing breath out. One more time. We're going to take our focus now to the heart space. So feel into your chest cavity. And as you breathe out, we're going to bring in the mantra of Ma. So we breathe in, and as you breathe out, slowly repeat Ma. Inhale through the nose, exhale Ma. Inhale through the nose, exhale and repeat that a few more times and just really feel the resonance of that. In through the nose and exhale One more. Now take your awareness to the throat. So this is Vishuddhi chakra, the throat center. Taking another breath in, and this time we're going to repeat Ha, H-A-A. Inhale, Ha. And if you can, take it up an octave. repeat that a few more times and feel the resonance of it within the throat. We're going to take a focus now to the third eye center. So take your awareness to the center of the head. We're going to go up a little higher. We're going to go with a he. And you want to actually feel the vibration. This is all about vibration. So feel the vibration within the dome of your skull. Inhale. He. Keep repeating this and really let yourself be lost in the sound and the frequency. Even if it's very quiet within your own resonance, allow it to raise your frequency. Go with the frequency. Go up into that resonance. Now from here, we're going to let go of the om. We're actually going to go straight to the ah. So in the ah, allow your mouth to open and play around a little bit with different shapes in your mouth and play around a little bit with the frequency that you're receiving, that you're experiencing. Breathing in. Start to let that express itself through you. Maybe it comes with a little bit of like snaking in your spine. Maybe it comes a little bit with playing with the waves or the energy around you, like in Tai Chi, where you're just playing with the ball of energy. So let it express itself. Close your eyes and just let yourself, your frequency raise to the frequency of sound, even if we're not raising to the frequency of light at this point. So begin to allow yourself to express in your own way. Maybe it's quiet, maybe there's no change, maybe it's just just keep going. Keep going in your own time. Just play around with it. Just get out of your own way. Doesn't matter if there's not much going on. Maybe you're not feeling the frequency. Allow it to shift your state. Just take some feeling into the feeling of the sound. ia gorentaira zi otiana heusa sai oinareta o ai ai Take a moment just to sit for a moment. Keep your eyes closed. So a powerful way for us to work with sound vibration. So just channeling light. Also, when we open ourselves up, we go to sound baths and sound frequency and sound bowls. We all know that music can have that effect on us in so many different ways. So just play around with this. This is not anything that is not yours. This is yours. You're just channeling the alignment of your own light. So when you're ready, coming back into the space. And hopefully that was a little bit enlightening and gave you some insight into soul codes, the codes of your soul, the frequency of your soul. And we continue to explore that on this journey. And jump straight in on the sound of, or the frequency of light language. So thank you for your questions. Thank you for your openness and exploration. Did you manage to play around with that a little bit, Joe?
That was awesome. That was so cool. Loved that.
Fantastic. It's very powerful to bring into your meditation. You know, it doesn't need to be separate from. I use this in my ice bath. It's so powerful in my ice bath because I'm in my ice bath. I'm like, and I'm like, you know, and then I'm like, you know, and I'm like totally, and oh my God, it is so freaking powerful in an ice bath because you're just literally you're just channeling beyond your freaking body, you know. It's just channeling pure light, especially in an environment like that, because it's such a awakening environment and your body is being so challenged. And so it's such a powerful way to become energy in that environment and through that master that environment. It's so powerful. My ice baths are like my spiritual teachings. It's such a great way to kind of, you know, overcome the human condition, the limitations of humaning. Awesome. I'm glad that so now you guys have a new language of love to share.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting though? Because Hamish is in a separate room to me. So I was doing my own thing, but I could hear the vibration of him through the other room. And that felt very powerful too.
Oh, it's so beautiful when you can get to that understanding that you are so... This is the whole concept. I mean, that's a different conversation when we start to get into unity and relationships and all that stuff. But that being able to communicate on that level is so powerful because it's so much less words are needed there. And, you know, we know that when we're with somebody and we're really close to them, we don't need words, you know. It's like you look at them and they go, I know what you mean. You know how it's like you're at a room together and you look at each other and go, yeah, you know. And so what was that? That's light language. That's connection. That's energy. And so that frequency of you raising your resonance, you are this vibrate. The walls aren't there. You know, there was no wall. There is no wall. And so the radiant frequency, and this is what's so beautiful, like infusing it into your house and using light language to bring the resonance of your home into a resonance of you too, because sound is resonance, and through sound we heal, and we can bring, like the future of medicine is sound healing. And so when we do light language and when we resonate with light language in that way, we are tapping into the resonance of what it is we choose. We can use intention to set an intention in the house, and then we can tone, we can use toning, we can use light language, we can use different things, you know, om chanting, all sorts of things. But even if there is a powerful song that has such a beautiful meaning to you, and you set an intention and play that song in that room, you know what I mean? It's like that's how you vibrate things, you know, and you can heal beings with it. It's you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what this is. But it's when you start to experience it, you're like, okay, yeah. We are so powerful and we have so much more technology and tools in our toolkit. So I'm glad you're on the journey with me, because there's more woo-woo shit to come.
Yeah, bring it on.
Very good. How did that go, Belinda? Did you have okay?
Yeah,
did
awesome.
you manage
Like when you started like freestyling,
yeah,
freestyle. Years like you were communicating on a much deeper level.
Yeah,
it was just like, whoa, like part of my deeper soul was like, you're meant to find this lady. You know, there was something, and it was like, oh my God, even like emotion now, like there was something from within you on a different frequency, you know, that communicating with my soul in a really deep way that you can't express through words.
Such a beautiful way of explaining it, because you know how we say, I don't know, I kind of resonate with this person, you know, when we have these ideas of like, I resonate with this person. And because we're in this linear time, this 3D linear time, the process of that resonance and connecting to that resonance of understanding and what it is, and unpacking the codes that this person might have for you or you might have for this person can take time. Whereas when we connect on a frequency level through things like when when I do get into the resonance, when I get out of the way in the resonance of the light language, it's not me anymore. It's not Wendy anymore. And then I can speak from my soul. And this is what I mean about soul codes. And it cuts through all the length of time we need to get to that point, and to get to those experiences. And that's what's so powerful when we can communicate with people on that level. And that's when, even when we have a beautiful artist and a person that we love and, they sing and it just brings you to tears. I love watching those shows like The Voice and all that stuff. And when people are on there and they bare their soul and they sing and we all feel it and we get emotional, it's like that's soul language, that's soul codes that you're transmitting. And it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. We got more to go.
Do you know, like this is a little bit sidestep, but lately with my Reiki, and even then when I was getting into the zone, I've been like jolting a lot, like Yeah.
That's energy. That's just completely energy. That's your channels opening. That's energy. It's like when a car or a motorbike or something hasn't been standing for a while and it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just opening the channels and it's just the energy starting and shots of energy. But
I can it's my way that my body is releasing. Like I'll be like, right, and I can feel something in my neck and I'm like, okay, and I'll use Reiki, and then all of a sudden my body will like go in the pain and I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
That's so cool. You're a magician. You're a magician.
It's like
awesome.
Golf, what are they called? Like a car. I'm getting my own adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. So cool. Oh, thank you. Hamish, you're muted. So if you want to share anything, you'd have to unmute. But thank you, guys. And thank you, Hamish, for being so open and trying.
I just don't think he knows how to unmute.
I'm just asked to unmute, but I don't know if that'll work. It's all good. Well,
there we go.
There we go.
You did it, Mush.
Yeah, well, it's on my headset.
Oh gosh!
And I'd pushed it, but it didn't come up on the screen there, so I had to get and click the button. Yeah.
Well done. Good. Did you give it a bit of a go?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to, because typically I'm probably more visual, and then so it's like I guess the thing I haven't quite worked out is how to process some of that kind of thing, and then typically similar to Joe might have mentioned that I have practiced a little bit of the Wim Hof method.
Oh yeah.
And so similar to that regard, normally the first couple of rounds, I suppose to be blunt, I'm kind of getting rid of all the rubbish, all the shit type thing, and then after that, that's when things kind of pop up and you kind of question a few things and see a few bits and pieces and
Perfect. And what I was saying, in the presentation is that like how does our soul communicate with us? And on a soul level, or even in a subconscious and unconscious level, we're not communicating with words. Symbology. And when you think about ancient language and ancient, like when we look at hieroglyphs in the Egyptian times and things like that, that was a whole teaching, and all the words and the symbols and sacred geometry and all these sort of things. So when we're in dream state as well, we have symbology. So the visualization, the imagery is symbolic language, which is still a process of communication of the soul. And so when we do the breath work, what's great is that, first of all, the breath work in the first couple of sessions, that's the human, the personality resisting. and the personality wanting to build a story about this experience that's happening. Because, and we get those first few rounds of breath work, the animalistic human is saying, this is dangerous, we're going to die, I don't feel good, this is like, it's scary, like, oh, this is uncomfortable, I don't like it, and there's a whole story. And when we continue, we drop below that, the human finally stands down, and then we can start to access the deeper layers of consciousness, our subconscious and unconscious states. And then when we sort of get into that sort of alpha theta openness, we start to open up a little bit more, then the soul can start to communicate with symbology and all that, and the visualization, the imagery, the things that we get, it has meaning. And so there is just a trust that your soul and your whole being knows, and you don't have to intellectualize it, you don't have to understand it. It's like when we have a dream, it's really awesome to be conscious about your dreams and to come out of a dream and write it down, so that there is clear communication, so that in your human life you're getting guidance. However, even if you don't remember the dream, it still had the impact. It still did the thing. Your soul had the experience. However, with this is that we can kind of almost fast track all of that. Like in that short 10, 15 minutes, you can, through chanting and then allowing the energy to flow, we're still very conscious, right? But we're not asleep, and we're not in that wasted state that we get into in breath work, but we are in an altered state of openness, and we're receiving the energy codes, really. It's the codes. So it's a fun thing to play around with. So the main thing that I wanted out of this today is so that we have the understanding of why, because otherwise it's just this random thing, and you might see a lot of it on YouTube and light language activations, which is fantastic, but why and how and what does it mean? And, it's much better when we kind of understand and then we can apply it ourselves, and it can just be for you. That's the beautiful thing. You don't have to become go out there in the world and share it with everybody. You can, but it's also just really awesome to do in your own meditations and with your dog and all those things. They get it. It'd be quite fun, actually. That's a good way to understand how much resonance there is in frequency. Like when you share it with your dog, you tap into their frequency and then you light language them and see how they respond to it. There he is. Oh, he's not going to respond. He's out to it.
That's his response.
Yeah. See, he was all calm. All right. Thank you guys so much. And next week we'll go into something else, but we will thread light language through so that we do in overall understand what soul codes are and how to kind of work with them.